Since the deadly unrest which ripped through parts of both KZN and Gauteng occurred, some businesses are still struggling to get back on their feet. Now, the multi-billion rand economic damages recorded also affected the banking sector, and some banks are still trying to rebuild, and the rate of reopening physical branches has outpaced the replacement of damaged ATMs. So let's discuss some of these challenges now. We're joined by Bongiwe Kunene from the Banking Association, South Africa. Bongiwe, good morning to you, and thank you so much for making time for us for this conversation this morning. So let's quantify, I suppose, the cost in damage due to these, civil unrest from last year. I mean, a year later, you're still reeling as the banking sector, still trying to rebuild. How would you quantify the cost?
I would say that, like many industries in the country, the banks were affected, and the impact, we were able to absorb the impact. So I would first just start there, because it's not that we are unable to recover. We have recovered. Banks have taken steps in both provinces, KZN and Gauteng, to replace the ATMs. The loss in terms of the ATMs was an estimated 1,400. And the branches that were affected were 269. The recovery was quick. By the end of December, we had restored 69% of the ATMs, and more than 60% of the branches were also restored. Those which has not come online up to now, they are either in the malls where the mall itself is not operational. But those which are standalone bank businesses, they are all back online.
Right. So what is the alternative then for those, ATMs or banks that were inside malls, and due to the mall not reopening, therefore affecting the banks not being online? What's the alternative? Because obviously those banks did service that particular community in that area.
Alternatives have been created in each of the towns and in each of the communities. So the first alternative, which was right in July last year, was moving our clients more to digital platforms, cell phone banking, internet banking, call banking. All of that was done very swiftly. The physical replacement for the banks that have taken the decisions on standalone branches not to reopen, then that could take quite a while to come back online. But for those who are still closed, because the trading center, in most cases being a mall or a garage place, haven't reopened, they have created alternatives in the same neighborhoods where they were operating.
Right. Sasria was talking recently to eNCA about concerns of possible future civil unrest in the country, similar to what we've seen last year. And I just wonder, as the banking sector, what security measures now you've taken, any lessons you've taken from last year, which you will now put in strategies, security strategies, to ensure that banks, branches, ATMs are protected?
Well, it's quite a comprehensive measure that we have gone through, first as a risk management exercise, just to know, firstly, how to account for your people, because whatever we do, our work in those centers is about securing the safety of our people, the staff that are in those branches, and also if there are customers inside the branches, securing those customers as well. With regards to cash that is inside the banks, we are working with the cash in transit companies to make sure that we have enough reserves in terms of cash that is readily available in terms of stress.
So with that being said, Bongiwe, is moving to digital online channels of transaction sort of a concept that you've also considered? Is it a possibility that, clients and customers might need to consider moving online, particularly in those areas where the infrastructure hasn't been rebuilt yet, where ATMs or even branches are not back yet? Or have you considered, the fact that, there's still a digital divide in certain parts of the country, so therefore access to online services may not necessarily be conducive to everyone?
The move to digitization has looked at the extent of economic recovery in South Africa, but the availability of tools for our clients to be able to work with what they have. So in a South African context, the cell phone penetration levels are extremely high. It would be difficult to imagine that we have users of banking services who at least would not have access to a cell phone. That being said, we are also still very much using the call availability. So if you call the number, the 0800 number that's allocated to you by your bank, you are able to be served.
All right, we leave it there. We leave it there, Bongiwe Kunene, and I appreciate you speaking to us about this this morning and giving some clarity as to how far you are as a banking sector in terms of rebuilding. Bongiwe Kunene from the Banking Association of South Africa.